the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. That is my buddy Zach over there. There's a good chance we're joined by Ryan at some point during the course of the hour. Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Not too much. How's your day been going?
Oh, God almighty. Have I, you don't know you need a vacation. You don't know you need a break until, like, you're in the break. And you're like, oh, God, I needed this. I've basically spent since Monday in warm weather. We spent 4 days in San Diego, came back here to good weather in Minneapolis, and you just forget how much, like, going outside and having good weather really matters to your mental health. And, man, the last 7 days, I have probably not felt this good in months, I got to tell you. It's been rejuvenating, completely rejuvenating, and ready to go back to work, actually. First time I've been excited to go back to work in quite a while.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm.
Did you not get away over spring break, or did you stay home?
No, we were here. I mean, I had softball started for us, so back into the coaching grind, and no, did not go anywhere of note.
Did you?
I guess go ahead. The first day of break, I guess we drove to Des Moines. My daughter went on a college visit at Drake, but other than that, no.
You know, that is one thing for spring break for you, is that you're a fast pitch coach in the spring, so you're probably really busy at this time. But maybe that Vegas trip would be a good example. Like maybe when you got away for 3-4 days to go to Vegas. Of course, it was still cold out here, but I got to imagine for those 3-4 days, that did a lot for you, right?
Probably. Yeah, no, for sure. It was good to hit the strip and just not have any real responsibility for a while, and not have, work and softball and the 4 kids and all that, just a quick break and then back at it.
That was kind of the thing I noticed the most, was that I did not spend a lot of time on my phone. Really didn't look at any news stuff, didn't look at an app, just got away from it completely. And it was like, I don't need to check the weather. The weather in San Diego is the same every day. Like, it was literally 70 every single day. I do have to share this story with you, though. Because here's the whole trip was really great, except for the whale watching excursion that my wife paid for.
Yes, let's hear more about that.
Oh my God, I want to start by saying when we went to Seattle a couple years back, we did whale watching, and it was a great experience. I loved it. We were in the Puget Sound. We saw whales, and got close enough to take some good pictures. And wife just really loved the experience. And so when
and your wife's big into photography,
big
right?
photography, big animals, wants to see them in their natural element as much as humanly possible.
Right, so this wasn't you snapping a few photos on your phone.
No, not at all. She's got the high-end camera out. She's ready for a day of hopefully getting some really good pictures. Okay. So we get to this whale watching experience in San Diego, and the guy they're very nice. They're nice people. They come out and they're like, all right, welcome. Let's take a look at some whales here. It's going to be a good time and blah, 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 blah. Now, I want to stress, if you need to take some motion sickness medication or anything like that right now would be the time to do it. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fair. It's water and people get sick, who knows, right? And I guess I didn't have an appreciation for choppy water or anything like that, because I mean, when we were up in Puget Sound, it wasn't choppy at all. Like, it was great. I was like, man, I'd love it. And when we're in the harbor, it's very calm, and there's dolphins jumping, and there's sea lions, and my wife's like, this is going to be the greatest trip ever. I'm so excited. This is just going to be great. We get out past, and I look ahead, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look good. Out past the rock jetties, there are just swells of waves coming in, and I'm like, it's Gilligan's Island out there. Like, it is a 3-hour tour that is going to be really tough. And we get out into the water, and immediately, we start doing the whole up and down and up and down, and the waves are just mashing this boat.
So how big is this boat?
It's got about 80, 90 people on it. Like, it's a sizable two-decker boat. It's a sizable two-decker boat. Like, so it's not going to get tipped over here, I don't think. But man, it is rocking in these waves. And I look at the dude, and we're rocking up and down, and I look at the dude behind the counter selling food, which I have no idea why the hell they would do something like that. And I go, Needless to say, he didn't sell a lot. I just looked at him. I go, hey, the motion sickness thing, how real is that? Like out here, he goes, it's a thing. He's like, it's a real thing. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, girl beelines to the side of the boat, over the side of the boat. Then here comes 3 kids from the upper deck down to the lower deck. Blah, 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 blah. And before I know it, it's like the scene in Stand By Me where the fat kid is eating the pies and everybody's throwing up around him. That's exactly what's happening. The whole place is throwing up and sick. And here's the thing. An hour and a half goes by, we do not clear this rough water. And every couple minutes he'd come on and go, you know, it's a little rough right now, but we think the worst is going to be behind us and it's going to smoothen out. Never smoothened out. I mean, an hour and a half. And then he's like, hey, we see a whale up ahead. And my wife's like, oh, finally, thank Christ. I can't take this anymore. And she gets up to the top. We see the spout of a whale like 4 miles off away from us. Not even close. Not even close. Couldn't see anything. And he's like, what a miracle. What a miracle to see this whale like this. Well, time to go back, everybody. And an hour back into the waves. Worst experience of my life. And I mean, I bet you 15 people threw up on that boat, and a whole bunch more had green faces like they were 5 minutes away from throwing up. Worst experience ever.
My grandpa would always talk about it. He was in the Navy.
Yeah.
And how it was real. And when they would go, they'd go down fishing in Florida, right? You'd go down to Florida for a week, and they'd always take a boat out, and he would laugh at how everyone else would get sick from it. But he's like, yeah, it's real. It's not a joke.
I'm just like, I'm glad I didn't have a big breakfast. I held it together. I didn't throw up. But I got to tell you, there are a couple things that make me want to throw up, and that's the sound of people throwing up and the smell of people throwing up. Like, you cannot get away from it. And that lower deck was pungent at the end of it. It was not good. A lot of people throwing up, and it was like, oh, God, we got to get out of here.
I think that would be my issue. My issue would be I would see other people yakking,
yes,
and I would want to.
That is exactly what it was. So that was a nightmarish, I mean, there's just no other way to describe it. A nightmarish trip as far as that goes. Everything else was fantastic. It was a great, great trip. Loved it. And again, I was just really glad to get away for a couple of days. Didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did, but I am feeling good. How's the softball team looking?
Things went well the first week. We don't have all the kids there. You're always missing a couple of kids because they're on spring break or whatever. But I think we looked better pitching maybe than I anticipated. We looked better defensively than I anticipated. So we've got some stuff to figure out, and we've got a buzzsaw of a scrimmage on Friday night. But we kind of planned it that way because I think we play, 4 of our 5 toughest games right out the gate. So it'll be a good year. I think we've got a lot of good things going on.
I love it, man. That's fantastic. We're looking forward to another season of you coaching on the fast pitch level, and competitively. It's a very competitive region, by the way. If you're not a big fan of fast pitch up here in the state of Minnesota, come on up sometime. Hang out. It's a great time. By the way, if you haven't gone to a fast pitch game before, people who listen to my pod and maybe like, I've never been to one, go to one. Like they're more fun than a high school baseball game. And that's no disrespect to high school baseball people, because I like high school baseball just the same, and I like town ball and all that stuff. But a fast pitch game is brisk. It's played in an hour and 20, 30, and it's fast tempo. I love it. It's everything I love about it. It's what everything baseball used to be, and that's what I hope it will be again. Speaking of baseball, Zach, they got approved since we last spoke. They've got labor peace. They've gotten it accomplished, and we've seen some pretty big signings. First, I guess on the labor piece, it looks like we're a year away from a clock. We're a year away from maybe the shift banning, stuff like that. What were your thoughts? Bigger bases. Overall, these were things that didn't bother you too much, right? Even though you're not a big fan of fundamental changes, these things didn't bother you too much, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be things that you really notice a huge amount in the game. We talked about the shift last time, and where nobody's clamoring like we need more shifts,
Yeah.
And I don't think the shift changing is going to fundamentally change the game much because guys are still going to try to pull the ball and hit home runs. And the difference is when they miss and they hit the ball hard on the ground, it's going to get through a little more often now. So
I'm in on that. And I like the pitch clock too. I originally thought I wasn't going to be a big fan of the pitch clock, but you just watch like some people on Twitter will pop up a minute of a old game or something like that to show a highlight of something, and you're just like, man, what? There were like 6 pitches in a minute, or there were like 3 or 4. I mean, there was action. Like there was quick action, quick pitches. If we can get a pitch thrown every 15, 20 seconds, I'll be ecstatic. I think that's how it should be. I can't wait to see more of that. I'm for it. I've decided.
Yeah. It's I'm thinking that, like I said, the game won't fundamentally change. We might cut a little bit of time off, although I don't think that's the issue, right? The issue is the lack of action in between.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's been good. I've watched baseball. I had it on a couple of days ago. I watched the Twins give up 4 runs in the bottom of the first.
They're right where we need them to be. Right there.
Yep, already in midseason form, so
the big news was
it's good to have it. Sorry, it's good to have it back.
I agree. And the big news for the Twins was that they signed Carlos Correa, which was kind of the big he was one of the big fish sitting out there. I applaud the Twins for making this happen. Now, yes, it's kind of it's a multiple opt-out 3-year deal for the Twins, but this is not a deal the Twins would have made, it feels like 5, 6, 7 years ago or under the Terry Ryan regime. It's cool to see them go take a big swing, even if it's a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal in the end. I admire them trying to do something like that and getting into the Scott Boras community a little bit.
I think that this is the approach that the Twins need to take. You need to be willing to overpay in a shorter time span. And there are still guys who are going to say, nope, you know what? I'd rather take the 8-year deal at $30 million a year than a 3-year deal at $35 million a year. But I think it's gonna present some questions to people, right? Because the selling point here to Correa is even if he stays for all 3 years, which he probably won't.
Yep.
But even if he does, he's still only going to be 30, and he'll get another 6 or 8-year deal after.
Yeah.
And so getting the extra money on the front end of it is a good situation to be in. I saw some hand wringing about the opt-outs, but again, like he only opts out if
we stink.
He's really good, right?
And he's really good.
He plays well, right? So if he's not opting out, it probably means he struggled or was hurt or whatever, and you're not getting your money's worth. So I think you're fine if he opts out.
I like what the team now kind of looks like. At least it looks more intriguing heading into opening day, right? When you start to look at the lineup and you go, okay, you got Buxton, Kepler, you got a Rise, you have Correa, Sano, you have Gio Urshela, Gary Sanchez. That lineup looks at least a little more interesting than what they were throwing out there even last year when you throw in Josh Donaldson and all that stuff. This lineup, to me at least, looks a little younger and looks like they've and has some different things that they can do. I kind of like it. I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, it's better offensively. They still need pitching.
Yeah, Sonny Gray is not going to be enough. Sonny Gray, John Ryan, or whatever. That's Joe Ryan. That's not enough. They're going to need a lot more.
Yeah, Dobnik's hurt now. He won't be there for the opening day. So they need starting pitching. But at least it can be some entertaining baseball. And I don't know if I think they're a playoff team yet, but like I said, if they get that pitching, then I think they're on the right path.
Absolutely. So I'm encouraged by that. Now the big one too, like there were a couple big signings that happened. I want to get your thoughts on just a couple of them. The rumor was the Twins were in the hunt for Trevor Story for a while there. A lot of people were like, nah, that's not going to happen. And obviously once Correa came down, they were definitely out. But that was okay because I'd rather have Correa than Story. Story goes to Boston on a 6-year deal. I mean, do you love that for them? I don't know if I love that. I don't know if I love Trevor Story. I mean, do you like Story? Because I don't know if I do outside of Coors Field.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say that Story is he's got that home away issue, right, from Colorado.
Yep.
And now he's probably going to go play second base in Boston too. And that's, I mean, it should be a transition you can make, but it always gives me a slight pause when you're signing a guy to a huge deal and then asking him to move spots.
And a guy who also hasn't seen any of this pitching, which again, that's another thing with the new collective bargaining agreement won't be an issue in a couple of years when everybody gets to see everybody. But I mean, for now, a lot of guys he hasn't faced, a lot of ballparks he hasn't been in. I don't think it's a cinch that he comes out of the gate and has a great year. I just don't see it. I mean, now you could say the same thing for Correa in Minnesota, and that's fair. I mean, that's very fair. But Correa, at least to me, has a body of work in big games that Trevor Story does not, and that's at least what I'm fascinated by. So
it's a great signing for the Twins. The Story one I think fits for Boston. Boston I think needed to add to their team, but you look there. I mean, you could make the argument that the Yankees are the third or fourth best team in that division right now.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah, I mean, and they haven't. Who's the big signing? I mean, they got Rizzo. They re-signed Rizzo, but other than that, like, are you excited about what they're doing?
No, not at all. They got swindled by the Twins.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, if I'm the Twins, I'm super in on that. You can have Josh Donaldson. I'll take what we got.
Right. And the issue is they got Donaldson and right, like we ended up with Correa, Urshela, we end up with Sanchez catching. I mean, and I know they were trying to get rid of Sanchez behind the plate, and I understand why, but Sanchez can come here and catch half the time and DH half the time, and we'll be fine with that. Like,
yeah.
I think it's a big win for Minnesota in that deal. Plus, and the Yankees were a team who were after shortstops reportedly.
And so they go get the aging third baseman.
Yeah, they don't get Story or Correa.
Yeah, that seems odd to me. But hey, we'll take it. This was really an interesting offseason in general before the lockout and now post-lockout. It feels like all the big signings have happened as these sort of other teams, right? Texas went crazy before the lockout, signed a bunch of dudes. Toronto has made a couple of big signings and added some pieces. It just doesn't feel like the big hitters outside of Philly getting Castellanos. It doesn't feel like a lot of the big market teams made the big moves. The big moves came from those middle teams and those teams at the bottom who were maybe looking to make a step forward, which I thought was kind of the interesting thought of the offseason.
Yeah, there was some good discussion about how really these small market teams have been doling out some bigger contracts this year. And I mean, really, aside from, right, you've got Cincinnati, who was in complete teardown, and Oakland, who's in complete teardown. There are some deals that went out for people that didn't expect them to go out. Right? I mean, Chris Bryant signed in Colorado. Nobody saw that. We didn't see Correa coming to Minnesota. Like, there's a lot going on. It's like the game. The reality is, right, you're getting $150 million in revenue sharing before you even open the gates.
Yep.
Those teams can spend if they want to.
That's true. You've said that forever with me. Yeah, if you really want to spend money, you can go ahead and do it. Interesting who's still out there, or other guys who were signed. The Chris Bryant one, I'm glad you kind of brought that up. I don't get it. Like, I don't get that one at all. Like, why not just keep Trevor Story or Nolan Arenado instead of paying Chris Bryant, who I don't think has played good baseball in 2 years? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to me. The only thing I can think of is that Story had let them know he's not coming back. Right? Yep. At some point, maybe that relationship soured, and they knew he wasn't going to come back, right? I mean, and I'm sure we'll get to this in the football part of our pod here as well, but it's the Davante Adams thing, right? Like,
right.
Told him he's not coming back. They knew he wasn't coming back, so they let him go. The interesting thing, I think, too, for the Rockies, though, is that they didn't trade him last year.
That's exactly it. If you're gonna, I mean, they did that they were proactive on Arenado. They were proactive in other guys in the past. It was interesting that they just hung on to Story and let him walk for nothing. It feels weird to me. And then to sign Chris Bryant.
Just to do that again. So that, I think, is the really interesting piece of this, is like why they went in that method for it. I don't know.
This is where baseball, though, this is what they needed. They need stuff like this. They need their hot stove to become hot again, where a lot of teams are getting involved and a lot of teams are making signings. That's what makes the NBA offseason so successful, and that's what makes this NFL offseason so successful. You got a lot of teams involved. You got a lot of players moving. You got a lot of action going on, and that's what's exciting. People want to see that stuff. They love to see the players kind of move around and the teams get involved.
It's been a wild couple of days, right? And,
yeah.
And everyone's still kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop. So, baseball's finding a way back here when it was, when it was a little bit of a mess. I don't know. We'll see. Like, the season itself is going to dictate some of this, right? Like, if you've got teams like the Reds and the A's and the Pirates who just disappear immediately, there's still going to be people who complain, right? I see it from people who are Reds fans. Reds fans are pissed. And I'm like, but they're pissed at baseball, not at their owner. And that's the part I don't get. Like, why talk to your disgruntledness should go towards the ownership, right? Like, spend money.
Yeah. Well, they can't be any different than the Twins.
They
can't be any different than the Twins, right? The Twins, they have the same newer ballpark. I mean, it's older than the Twins ballpark. I get that. But, I mean, it's not that much older. You got the new ballpark that the Twins said they needed to compete, that the Pirates said they needed to compete. All right, you got that. In fact, PNC might be the nicest ballpark in baseball. It's not that your market is – if it's smaller than Minneapolis, it can't be smaller by much. So where are you guys? I mean, I at least applaud what the Twins are doing. The Twins have gone out in the last handful of years and spent on a Josh Donaldson. It didn't work out, but at least they spent it. They're buying on a Carlos Correa. You can do this. I don't understand where the Reds are coming from on this. I don't know if it's a television thing or what, but yeah, spend some money. Go buy a player.
And the Reds may need to completely retool. Like that's fine, right? If that's where they feel that they are, they need to redo it and tear it down. That's fine. Because that happens, right? That is the disadvantage of the small market, is that you are not going to be loaded every single year. But they've got a lot of parts that I like. So yeah. I feel like, especially with the expanded playoffs, like it's hard to go into day one and say we're not competing.
I think the expanded playoffs are there for. I know you weren't necessarily huge on the expanded playoffs, and I can't say that I was super in love with it, but I understand what it's meant to do. And it's meant to get teams excited and keep teams in it for as long as they possibly can.
And I'm we've had this discussion, but like 14 was what I was really
I'm with you on 14. 12 I can live with. 12, I can live with 12.
12 is still, not my ideal, but 14 would have really driven me nuts.
Yeah. I can respect that. I can respect that. So stay tuned on baseball. I'm in, and I think that'll be one of our talkers this summer, is our ability to talk baseball, and I'm looking forward to more of that. And I can't wait for the season to start. It's going to be very exciting. Let's talk football. Your team was in the news a lot this week. We'll get to Brady and all of that stuff soon, but your beloved A-Rod stays. Oh, there's stuff going on the camera. I don't know what's going on. Okay, there we go.
You're good. You're good.
That's what Jesus. I thought I was getting waved off. Anyway, your guy, Raj stays. Davante Adams, though, dealt at the beginning of the week. Your Packers management, your Packers ownership, I want to hear your thoughts on the deal. And kind of, because there's a lot of people, I love the talking heads are putting this on Rodgers, or putting this on something or other. I don't know what the narrative ends up being, but he's gone, he's out. Your thoughts, and where do they go from here?
The reality is that this was all set in motion 12 months ago. The Packers were in a spot where they weren't sure what Aaron Rodgers was going to do. And they were waiting on him and trying to figure out stuff with him. And at that time, Adams was kind of frustrated that they weren't ready to make a deal with him. Right. And I understand the Packers' perspective of we need to figure out what Aaron Rodgers is doing first before we pay a wide receiver, make him the highest paid guy. And, he's getting quarterback money, right? Like,
yeah, that's a lot of money he's getting. The
contract is insane.
Yes, it's a lot. Too much for my blood.
And so that's when the damage was done, right? And so when you look back at the Last Dance photos and stuff that came out, these two knew it was over because I think that Davante Adams really let him know. He's like, I will not be back here next year at this point. Because that's what it came down to, right? I mean, in the end, Green Bay offered him more money, and he still wanted to go. And Rodgers knew that before he signed his extension. It wasn't like, his extension prevented Green Bay from paying him, because that wasn't the case. So I don't get that Aaron Rodgers. Well, I do get it. It's just people like to pile on. But it doesn't make sense that that's the problem. In terms of compensation, I like it. I mean, I know there's some people who are questioning it, but when you look around the league, what other wide receivers have been traded for this year, right? Amari Cooper got a 5th.
Yeah, nothing.
Right? Robert Woods just got a 6th.
Yeah.
So a 1 and a 2 and not having to pay him, right? I mean, you really have to look at it from that perspective, right? It's a 1 and 2, and they re-signed, Campbell middle linebacker. They re-signed Rasul Douglas. Like there's other things that came with that money as well. So they made the best of the situation. But I think, like I said, this was done deal 12 months ago. We just didn't all know about it until now.
That's interesting, though, that I concur that clearly Rodgers had to know that this was happening before he signed his extension. But a lot of the stuff that we were talking about last year with Rodgers had to do with, Rodgers was pretty vocal about how, he loves Davante Adams, wants him to be a part of the team, wants him to be part of the deal. Adams was pretty vocal about his support of Rodgers, wanting to go wherever Aaron Rodgers was. That appears to be like both sides were, but you're saying, or at least you're feeling like at no point was that a thing, right? That they knew that this wasn't going to happen beyond this last year, that they were leaving each other and that they weren't going to be around each other in 2022.
Well, I think, there was still the possibility of Rodgers going somewhere else this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? I mean, I think that was a possibility. And in the end, he decided to stay in Green Bay. And, I think that legacy piece is important to him.
It does seem that way. I agree with you. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that there was a possibility that he could have gone somewhere and gone with, and Adams gone there as well. I totally think that was on the table. But in the end, they both did what they felt was best for themselves. And it doesn't overly stress me. Like the Packers wide receiver room does not freak me out like it does some people right now. They've got a couple pieces, and they'll pick up. Like it's not going to stay like this on opening day, right? There's going to be more. And you still have Aaron Rodgers. Right, and you still have, life went on when Jordy Nelson left, right? Life will go on without Davante Adams.
It's true. And you mentioned Lazard, maybe Alan Lazard becomes the next Davante Adams. Maybe he's a Pro Bowl wide receiver this year. You just never know. It's interesting for Vegas. I get it for them. I understand why they made this move. Because you think, man, Derek Carr, Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, kind of like this team, kind of like what they're doing. But I'm a little scared if I'm Vegas because it's a lot of money, number one, that you're putting into a wide receiver, a position that is like a quarterback is kind of needed to make that position great. And I also feel like Davante Adams has played his best football, which is why it's like, I think he's still going to be really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say he's dead here or he's washed, but I like the fact that the Packers didn't pay him because I think the Packers have seen his best, and I think they've gotten his best. And I'm always a little scared, a little skeptical. This is not the same as Stephon Diggs, in my opinion, when the Vikes traded Stephon Diggs. You're talking a receiver entering his prime, where I think he can still be a big factor, and he has been. I don't know if Adams is the same guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Do you think he's still, without Rodgers, is he still a top 5 wide receiver big-time threat, or you're going to see a drop-off here?
I mean, I think you're going to see a drop off, but you're going to see a drop off from he was number 1.
Yeah.
But I think that they will have a good. They're going to have a rapport, right? They've played together before. He's going to have a decent season, but I don't know if you can justify spending that much on any wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I guess that's where the game is right now. A first and a second this year. I mean, at least there's only picks this year and not from future years.
Yeah.
And I guess different people value that different ways. Like I heard people complaining about, I can't remember what the deal was, but somebody is a trade and they're like, well, it's a 1 this year, but then it's only a 1 this year and it's a 1 the following year and this, and maybe it would have had to do with the Watson trade. But like, I guess I don't know if I want all my picks in 1 year or if I want them spread out. I don't know which one I think would be better. But the Packers are in a good spot here, right? They've got 5 picks in the top 100.
Yep.
They're looking to reload a team, not rebuild.
Right.
I think they'll be in fine. And again, right? Is there anything in the division right now that scares you? I mean, they're still probably the favorites, right?
Hell yeah. I don't think anything's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anything's changed here. And this is the Packers' way, too, right? They don't go out and make a bunch of splashy free agent signings. That's just not who they are. I mean, they pay the quarterback. They always have. But this is not a team that goes out and spends a gazillion on top wide receivers or top running backs. They draft. They build. This is what they do, right?
Yeah. And they've been pretty good here in the first 2 rounds. They struggled in the 3rd round, I think, is the one where if you look at it. But the first 2 rounds, Jair Alexander, right? They got Rashawn Gary, and that was panned when they took him, but it's turned out really well. Right? The only really first or second round pick you have a question about is Love.
Yeah.
And there's still some value there too. I mean, the way the price tag on some of these quarterbacks, I think that there's still some value in Love, and we'll see what they do if they move him now or they hang on to him for a little bit and then try to move him. But I would be surprised if he doesn't get moved at some point. This
is a good spot to move to the kind of the quarterback carousel number 2 conversation. And I kind of wish Rhino was jumping in here because I'd love to hear his thoughts on this too. But I'll get your thoughts here because we had a few more quarterbacks move, and obviously the big one was Deshaun Watson. He goes to Cleveland in sort of a change, right? Because it sounded like the Browns were out, and Baker was requesting a trade, and then they said, nah, we're not going to let you have a trade. But then they make the trade for Watson anyway. And so right now they have a roster with Watson and Mayfield on it for now. I don't see that staying that way, but the way the Watson thing shook out, what were your thoughts on that? I mean, where does Baker go? Where does Garoppolo go? And now what happens with Jordan Love? How does this reset everything?
So what I think happened was, Watson did his rounds and talked to people about possible extensions, and Cleveland was not in the ballpark. And so he told them they were out. And then when the next day, then Baker asked to leave, I think Cleveland got back together, with their triangle of authority and decided that they were going to up the ante here for Watson. And suddenly Watson's like, oh yeah, you guys are great. I want to come to Cleveland. And so I think that's what happened, right? He got a bigger bag. He got the whole thing guaranteed.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that was on the table other places. So I think that's how that all played out. That's my interpretation of it.
Does this have a chance?
A lot of people.
Does this have a chance to go really bad? I'm saying, does this have a chance? This has a chance to go really terrible, right? I get that. The thing that kind of stinks here or smells kind of bad is it's all guaranteed. His first year base salary, you text this to me, was $1 million. So say he gets suspended for 6 games. 4 to 6, he's going to be out $50,000. So all of this, and it's going to run him $50,000, which is a drop in the bucket. That feels wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I guess he ends up paying a little more out of pocket for the
he might have to pay a little
lawsuits or whatever if he settles or however that plays out.
Maybe that's true too.
Here's the deal. It can go wrong because right? It's a guy who did not play for a year.
That's true.
That always leaves questions in your mind, for whatever the reason is, whether it's injury, suspension, this pseudo sitting out. There's some questions there. I wasn't as high on Watson as everyone else was before.
Yeah, Ryan's big on Watson. Yep.
I think Ryan wants to have his babies, so he's not my guy. I think he's good and he's shown some things.
His alleged history of treating people well, I don't know if with his alleged history of treating women well, I don't know if that's the kind of relationship you want to get into with a guy like him. I'm just not sure that's.
Well, here's the deal.
Allegedly, by the way.
Okay, yes, he's done some good things, right? But then you go back to that playoff game that they blew against the Chiefs, and I get that he's not on the field playing defense, but it's not against the rules to keep scoring. It's not against the rules to pick up a couple first downs and keep the Chiefs off the field.
Yep.
Just that he holds some culpability there too. So we'll see, right? I mean, is this the type of offense for him too? I mean, the fancy's going to run the ball 30 times a game.
Yeah, he's got two big-time running backs. I mean, and with Watson's ability to run too.
And the wide receiver situation there is not as good as it was.
Although there's a little part of me that would rather have Amari Cooper than Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, I get that, but
right. But Landry's gone too.
Yeah, Landry's gone too.
Didn't their tight end leave as well?
I don't know if is David. Yeah,
I Austin Hooper, right?
Austin Hooper and David Njoku.
He hasn't signed anywhere yet.
Yeah.
And Njoku. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess time will tell, right?
Yep.
There's definitely been a lot of backlash on them in the community. I actually just had made a couple of Browns fans and friends with them and follow some of their content online. And there's a lot of women who are upset there.
We'll have them on the pod if you want to have those Cleveland. They can come in and be our Cleveland correspondents. We might need them.
And so we'll see how it all plays out for them. I mean, also I think the question of we've done extensive vetting of him or whatever. Okay, well, what have you really done?
Yeah, very Rockford Files, the way they were digging through there, sneaking into trailers late at night and going through files. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So in the end, I'm interested to see what happens with Baker.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are pointing towards Indy. I think he ends up maybe in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like Pete loves him. And I don't know that Cleveland wants to send him to Indy. I mean, that's the weird thing here for Cleveland, right? You look at how everyone else, right? We've talked about the AFC West loading up. There's the AFC North is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you look at what Baltimore has and Cincinnati and, Pittsburgh's got a great defense, but they might be the fourth best team in the division. I don't know. But anyway, with all that stuff loading up, does Cleveland want to help Indy get better too? Yeah. There's only so many playoff spots to go around.
That's fair. I can't.
And normally I'm hey, trading a guy, the whole they're not going to trade him in the conference or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't always sometimes we just got to take what the best deal is. But I don't know that the deals are going to be significantly different for Baker. Right? I mean, I don't think he's got a huge market right now anyway. So they might be better off just sending him out of there because the reality is the AFC is pretty damn competitive right now.
It's true.
And when we do our preseason predictions here in a couple months, you're going to have to leave a pretty good team and some pretty good quarterbacks out of the playoffs. And then on the flip side, you're going to have to pick some pretty shitty ones to put in the NFC, I feel like.
That's true. The Watson piece, too, is also interesting because it's one thing a quarterback takes. We got a little feedback on your end, so just watch watch that audio there. So anyway, but I just my comment, I guess, on the Watson thing is it's not like an injury. I think we agree that we don't like when players sit out a year. I think we totally are on board with that. But it's different to me when a player's out with an injury because they hang out at the facility, they're around the trainers, they're around the coaches, they're around the team, they're getting, they're completely engaged and immersed in it. Watson was nowhere near the facility for a year. We have no idea what kind of condition he's in. We have no idea what kind of offseason training he's done. We have no idea how much, offensive study he's done, how much work he's put into his craft. I have no idea. And I've told this to Ryan 100 times. Guys don't get better sitting out. Like, dudes just don't get better on the sidelines not playing. Like that, unless they're Jordan Love maybe and they're just watching and observing. But that's the thing. They're going to meetings, they're immersed, they're practicing. He didn't do any of that for 12 months. And it's the same thing for a Calvin Ridley or something like that at wide receiver. Like he's going to go basically 2 years without playing football. It's over. He's never going to be that guy. And I just don't think – I think that's the same thing for Watson. And I'm concerned if I'm Cleveland. I don't mind them taking a big swing, but this has a chance to be a total failure. And if I'm Stefanski, I take the risk because Watson's definitely better than Baker Mayfield. I understand that, but it still feels like a giant risk, and I don't know if this is going to turn out the way that they hoped, especially with Cincinnati being so good. And I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be bad. Listen, they found a way to make the playoffs with Ben Roethlisberger this year, and Ben was terrible. Trubisky can't be worse than that. Right, Kenny? He can't be worse.
I mean, we're gonna find out, but no, that I agree. I'm agreeing with you, but that's what I'm saying. Like with all those teams, right? We haven't even mentioned, right? I'm guessing we're probably thinking Tennessee is winning the South.
Yep.
Right. And depending on what Indy does, right? Like this, taking Indy out of this conversation for a second because we're talking about the quarterback there, but right, I mean, you're gonna have 4 division winners. Right, you've got 3 pretty damn good teams in the AFC West that won't win the division.
Right,
you're going to have, the Ravens or the Bengals or the Browns. Right, I mean, one of those teams is going to win it, and you're going to have to fight with the other 2. So it's going to get real sticky real fast in the AFC. And then it becomes interesting for me is, does anybody try to bow out and go, okay, we're going to go rebuild? Like we're going to sell. We think we thought we were close, but we're not where we thought we were going to be, and maybe we need to retool this and come back in 2 or 3 years, hopefully better. Because I don't know. I mean, or are they all going to beat each other, and I'll go 8-8 or 8-9, 9-8, whatever. Now
that's
God,
possible.
I hate 17 games.
Yeah. A couple things that still need to happen too is so. Right now, as it stands, Garoppolo and Trey Lance are still on the 49ers. And we thought Garoppolo was going to move for sure. Now I don't know if that's still a cinch. Like, I don't think that's a guarantee at this point. Tom is back, which I don't think we've talked about that, have we? Have we talked about Tom being back? I think Tom. That
happened like a day or 2 after our last pod.
Yeah, so Tom's back, which changes some things because now you have... Tampa was maybe looking for a guy. Now they're not looking for a guy. They're settled. Matt Ryan, they were telling Matt Ryan, hey, we think we got Deshaun Watson, so why don't you go ahead and look for a trade partner? Are they still going to honor a trade? It sounds to me like they still would like to part ways with Matt Ryan. Are teams now going to have to try to mend fences here and stay back in this, or are they are they still trying to actively shop?
I don't think you can. If you can get out from under the last year or 2 here of Matt Ryan, I think you got to do it.
Yeah,
right. He hasn't shown anything in a while. He's even the years right. Even that Super Bowl year, like I don't know. Is Matt Ryan really that guy to you?
I think Matt Ryan's had a good career. I like Matt Ryan. He's had a good career, but I think his best years are behind him.
But he's expensive on a not very good team,
right?
So why not look for a partner and take the partner if you get it, But I don't know who would trade for Matt Ryan right now.
Yeah, that's the question, right? Like there are teams that are quarterback starving, but are they willing to go get Matt Ryan? Like if you're Carolina within the division, are you willing to give up anything for Matt Ryan? I don't know if you are. If you're San Francisco, you got Trey Lance, so you don't need to, you're trying to find a dance partner for Jimmy Garoppolo. You're not trying
that's the interesting piece of this is like, we're hearing more and more rumblings that Trey Lance is not the guy they thought he was.
Weird.
And that they might hang on to Jimmy G for one more year. And, if so, let's talk about that here for a second.
Yeah.
Right? We just got done talking about Watson, and the price tag on him was 3 firsts, a fifth, and a sixth, right? And I think a fifth went back as well. But, that was the price tag on Trey Lance. It was 3 firsts and a...
Oh, 3 firsts.
Right?
Yeah, that does not...
to move up in that draft.
Yeah, in hindsight, that is not good. That's not good.
So, would they have rather have done 3 firsts this year and gotten Watson? Probably.
Yeah, I would think so.
And I get that rookie contract is a big piece of this, right? And I'm all about the rookie contract, but man, that's a questionable trade. So Jimmy G, I still think is the guy who ends up in Indianapolis. I think Indy thinks they have all the pieces but the quarterback.
I'm surprised. I'm interested now in New Orleans after you made the announcement to me today in a text that Taysom Hill is not going to play quarterback anymore. So that's done, which I'm fine with. I think we saw what we needed to see there. But obviously we know Trevor Siemian's not the guy. Are they going to go back to Jameis? Baker Mayfield feels interesting there because they don't. Ian Book? Yeah, poor Ian Book. Oh my God, poor Ian Book got absolutely thrown to the wolves last year. Not fair at all. But Baker feels that feels interesting down there. I feel like New Orleans is going to have to be a dance partner somewhere. They're in salary cap hell. Baker's still fairly cheap. This is a guy who can maybe help you win games. He's better than all your options you have right now. There's just a lot there that they can make some changes on. I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans jumps in here at some point and gets in on the Baker Mayfield stuff, or maybe even the Jimmy G. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're just going to end up with Jameis again.
Oof.
I think that's where they end up. I think Jimmy G is probably the best of your remaining options.
That's true.
Depending on what you think about Jordan Love, maybe. And what the cost is there too. That'll be the interesting thing. What does he cost versus what does Jimmy G cost? But there's really we're scraping, kind of the bottom of the barrel here.
Speaking of Tom, I was hearing Bill Simmons on this, and Bill's pretty plugged in on some NFL guys, especially guys from New England and things like that. But it sounds like Tom was really working to get to San Francisco. That's kind of, but the underneath, the behind the scenes stuff was Tom was retiring, but was very happy and content to see if he could ride it out and get to San Francisco, whether it was on a trade or whether it was whatever. And the Bucs basically just said no. The Bucs were like, if you're going to play, you're going to play here, and that's it. And Tom, being kind of the guy that, being kind of the smart dude he is, observed the NFC landscape and said, all right, all the quarterbacks are in the AFC. I only got to run through Aaron, and that's about it to get back to the Super Bowl. And Matthew Stafford, obviously, too. But I like my chances to at least get back in the mix next year. All right, fine, I'll stay in Tampa. But I think his heart was in San Francisco, don't you think? Do you buy those reports?
Well, I would have bought that report. But if that is how he felt, then something changed for him. Because
Zach ducked out of my meeting. We'll see if he gets back in here. Oh man, that would be horrible. All right, we're pausing. I'm going to get Zach back on the line. We got Zach back in. So here we go. Okay. We're going to continue on here on this one.
I would have bought that, but I think that if that was really his plan, he would have done the Brett Favre method, right? And you wait until the new season begins and free agent contracts are happening, and then you unretire, because now the team doesn't have any cap space for you. And so they have to either cut a whole bunch of guys that they just added, or they have to release you. And so I think if that was truly his end goal, then he would have waited. Now, maybe that's what he was hoping for. And then, like you said, he saw this, this path changing in the NFC and decided to go, he changed courses himself. the other possibility is he spent 40 days at home doing parent-teacher conferences and the laundry and, vacuuming the rugs and decided he was out.
That is something with athletes, right? They always say, like, I got to spend more time at home with the kids, more time at home with the wife. And I'm like, I don't know, do you? You got a lot of time. I mean, you have to, your season's only 5 months. Like, you get a lot of time at home. And he's 44. He's not 65. Like, this notion that he was, I've never bought any of that when players say they're done or they need to go spend more time with the family. Give me other reasons. Give me reasons like the body can't do it anymore, injuries, whatever. Like Peyton's shoulder, he couldn't throw it anymore. Let's be that way, but don't give me the family stuff. It clearly wasn't the reason. Yeah, you're right. One too many soccer games. He was like, is this all there is to it? This sucks.
Well, I think I could get it. Like if, say, you wanted to, like if you're a baseball player and you never see your son play baseball.
Baseball's different, right? Baseball's a long season. It's February to October.
And maybe same thing, right? If you're Tom and you're like, hey, my kids are playing football and I never get to see their football or whatever, right? But, outside of that, it is interesting, right? I mean, it is a pretty damn short retirement.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good jokes of things that lasted longer than Tom's retirement.
But he'd always said he wanted to play till he was 45 anyway, and so it makes sense to come back and play. For him to play one more year, and that's the thing. Hasty retirements after a season. Part of me is like, after every, I'm sure you get this too, coaching, right? But after every speech season, there's like a week-long moment where I'm like, do I want to do this again? Do I want to coach another season? I'm sure after softball, you're like, man, I don't know. All right, as soon as the season's over, then give yourself like a month or two, a couple, 3-4 months, and you kind of get the urge to get back in there again. So I don't like hasty moves like this unless you just know for sure that's coming, like Andrew Whitworth or whatever.
Can you imagine the backlash if word had gotten out that Aaron was retiring? He denied it, then retired 2 days later, and then 40 days later unretired.
Are you saying Tom's not catching any heat?
Ryan would be having a field day if that had happened.
Rhino's joining the podcast, everybody.
All I'm going to say is that, Tom Brady should stay retired.
But he's back. But we talked about this, Ryan. The path for him, the reason why he's back is, well, I don't know. We just talked about this, but like your thoughts quickly. Bill Simmons kind of thought that the San Francisco thing was going to happen. Like all signs pointed that Tom wanted to go to San Francisco and unretire and go there, and that this was sort of a leverage move to make that happen. And then it didn't happen. Tampa basically said, you're playing here or nowhere at all, and called Tom's bluff, basically. Do you buy that story? And I mean, but my guess is Tom saw, all right, well, if I got to play in Tampa, it's not all that bad. The NFC sucks. There's nobody. I only got to go through Aaron and Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I think that the problems on that team are bigger than Tom. But if it's me, I mean, the question that I asked, and apparently I'm not the only one. The question I asked was, what do you have left to prove? Like,
well, he's got nothing left to prove.
What else is there for you to do? That you've won more titles than most franchises. I mean, it's.
Well, we were just saying that it sure beats the hell out of 8-year-old soccer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but
how many?
Do you really want to be a dad? Like, he says he wants to be a part of it, with his family and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you get an ass full of your family after a while. I mean, you don't know this yet, Ryan.
40 days and you're sick of it?
Here's the though. I think his boys are probably like, Dad, like this is a lot of fun. Like, like we you say you want to be home or whatever, but like we're having a blast going to your games and watching and living that lifestyle too. So, I would bet probably at this age now, where they're old enough, they're going to remember these things.
Yeah,
it makes some sense, I think. But
and let's be clear, Ryan, you haven't had the kid yet. That's not far away from now, but you come December, January of next year, and that baby's 4 or 5 months old and is keeping you up at night and keeping you up all day and in the morning. You're going to want something to go do. You're going to want a place to go, a quiet spot to sit for a couple hours. Zach can attest to this. He'll tell you that that's the case, and it's going to happen to you too.
Well, if your place to escape is an NFL locker room making tens of millions of dollars, I don't exactly think that hurts either.
No, it doesn't hurt. It's not bad.
But I mean, he has teenagers. He doesn't have a newborn. And let's be clear, we get to December, January, my newborn's going to be at speech with me. So,
Jesus H, I can't. You know when I talked about that, Zach? How I just said, I always like to reevaluate the coaching situation about every. I can't make hasty decisions after the end of a season. Got to make sure that comes into play here as well. That's another part of this as well. Coach might have to overrule that. Ryan this is the same Ryan. Now I get it, the baby's not a dog, but Ryan's the same guy that was like, maybe I should just get a dog and bring the dog to speech practice all the time in tournaments. What do you think of that? Should I bring a dog?
Team mascot, baby.
I had to overrule the dog. I said no to the dog. So, I'm trying to think if I have another football note that I want to touch on here before I get to our last topic of the day. I think we got it. Davante, we covered Deshaun, we got Baker Mayfield, got Garoppolo, got Tom. Ryan, is there anything I'm missing football-wise that we should hit on real quick?
Did you ask the question?
Which question?
We're about
to go to that question. Now. We're going to that question right now. That's what Ryan's here for. Ryan is in here to get in on the last topic, which is something I saw the NFL, or actually I think it was NBC Sports or SI who put it out online in the last couple of days. I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to ask you guys this. They said, name one team that you, under no circumstances, can or will root for. Now, that takes a different level of hatred, let's just say, because most teams you're pretty, for example, am I the biggest Green Bay Packer fan? No, not really. I'm not. I mean, I've been a Vikings guy. But do I hate the Packers? No, I don't. I'd root for the Packers given the certain circumstances. Certainly won't root for them against Tom, but against Matt Stafford, I think I will now. I've had an ass full of the Rams. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen. But teams that you refuse to root for. So this took some thought. Zach said he had 6. Ryan has 2.
If you are picturing me right now, imagine Jericho rolling out a scroll of his 10,001 moods, and that is my list of hate teams.
Is this limited to the NFL?
I think this can be anything. This is because that was what.
I've got all kinds.
Yeah,
of things.
the question was just teams, not football teams, baseball. So anything. It can be a soccer team. It could be a Formula One racing team for all I care. You could just be the biggest anti-Max Verstappen guy in the world if that's what you were. But I don't think that's anybody in this room.
I'll start with my baseball.
All right, let's go there.
The St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Oh, now, okay, why? What the Angel? Now the Angels are kind of homogenous to me. Why do you not like the Angels?
So part of it I think is, just the playoff series that they beat the Twins in, right?
Yeah, that stinks.
Where was that? 2002.
2002.
Right.
It stinks.
So that's part of it, but also,
Troy fucking Glass couldn't. Miss.
I get old. I've had enough of the Mike Trout stuff. I've had enough of hearing about how great he is, and he's the greatest player of all time. Guess what? If you're the greatest player of all time, win a playoff series. Just win a playoff game. Do something. He's been to the playoffs once in 12 years or 13 years, something like that, and he has not won a playoff series. And don't get me wrong, it is a team sport. I get that. But if you are the greatest player of all time, which people are legitimately making the argument for,
that's nonsense. That's ridiculous.
Everything comes into play then, right?
Yep.
Not winning playoff games, not getting the playoffs, that comes into play. How about carry your team? Put them on your back if you're the greatest player ever.
Yeah, he's not that. No,
anyways, I can't stand them. I can't stand the Cardinals.
Why not the Cardinals? Because other than the fact that they kind of insist upon themselves as being, a blue blood, a team that thinks they're the Midwestern Yankees, that kind of thing. I got no time for that.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Is they talk about their that aspect, and they're not the Yankees, right? And I think they do technically have the second most.
Yeah, they're very good franchise, no question.
Yep. But they're just not on that level. They're not I don't know. They're just not that important. I can't stand Molina. He's just another guy on my list, so I just will never cheer for those two teams.
All right. Ryan, you're not a big baseball guy. And Zach, we got that feedback thing again. We may have to work on that. We're going to plug that in. Zach, Ryan, do you have a baseball team, or where do you want to go?
I think the only baseball team that comes to mind that I'd never cheer for is the Chicago Cubs.
The Cubs? Wow!
Look, outside of not winning for 100+ years, their fans are largely insufferable.
No, that's White Sox fans. They're way worse than Cubs fans, don't you think? White Sox fans are horrible.
Here's the thing: you're from the south side of Chicago. You're a tough guy. I don't want to mess with you, but one of those soft, stuffy North Siders who cheers for the Cubs, and there are millions and millions of worldwide fans. I don't care. I don't want anything to do with them.
I do think that the Cubs went from lovable losers to over the top and easy to hate pretty quick. They made that heel change just about as quick as Brady and the Patriots did.
I don't have either of those teams. The White Sox were a team I thought about for a while because they've been a chief rival of the Twins for years, and I've just never been a huge White Sox guy. But even then, in the right circumstance, I could root for the White Sox. I can't root for the Yankees under any circumstances. Cannot under any circumstances. Sure. I've never rooted for them. I never will root for them. I think if you ask me to choose, I'm always going to choose the Mets. I don't know why, because the Mets are assholes too, but I'm always going to choose the Mets over the Yankees 100 times out of 100. If I lived in New York and said, you got to cheer for one, I'd be like, fine, the Mets, move on. That's the route we're going.
I don't think I have a favorite baseball team, to be honest with you.
The Twins are my favorite team. There's no doubt about that. But I
just don't watch enough baseball to have one.
You should get in on that, Ryan. We really got to get you watching some more baseball this year. You'll appreciate the game a little more. It's a good game. It's a good game.
Do we?
Whatever. So that's it. I got the Yankees, and I think you could probably talk. That's probably about it, because even the Dodgers, I'll root for the Dodgers. I have no problems with the Dodgers. Yeah, I think that's it. Yankees, and that's it. That's the list. How about other teams? Zach, throw me out another one.
Well, sure. Here we go. College football.
This is where Ryan lives, right here. This is good.
Yeah. The Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Go Bucks, baby.
and I would say, you know what? I didn't have this on my list before, but I'd put Penn State on there as well.
Ooh, Penn State.
When Penn State also is one of those, like, thinks they're more important than they are.
Yeah.
Type deals. And quite honestly, when those two teams play, I root for Asteroid to hit the stadium.
Let's go Bucks, baby.
For college,
kind of same theory though with Ohio State, right? Like a team that thinks they're more important than they really are.
That's kind of what ends up happening here, yeah. Or they're the perennial,
They're largely irrelevant outside of the Big Ten. They didn't even win the Big Ten this year.
Oh, Ryan is just getting.
They haven't beaten Michigan in almost 1,000 days now.
Ryan's beard is growing right now as we speak in anger.
Also, I was cheering for Miami that year that they pushed off in the end zone and got like 8 tries to score.
And did what now? Did what? Sorry. Oh, that's right. They won a national title. That's right. Okay. Just want to make sure we're on that. Also, just want to point out that Ohio State is not relevant nationally, but the third winningest program in the country in like college football history. So
again, yeah, but you're just playing against a bunch of shitty, fat, slow Big Ten teams every year.
Should we look at the SEC and how top heavy they are? They got fucking Vanderbilt.
And we have Rutgers in Maryland. Come on now.
Yeah, but they've also got Kentucky and Tennessee, and
Kentucky was ranked this year.
Yeah, but traditionally they're not a power. Let's be real.
I'll meet you in the middle here. I'm going to throw a team out that I think we can agree on, right? The University of Texas. If it's college football, Texas. Texas is hard to root for. Hard to root for. They got insufferable fans. They usually have shitty coach. I mean, I like Mac Brown, but all their coaches recently have not enjoyed. I mean, they're all just blowhards. It's a blowhard state of blowhard football people. I can't get behind the University of Texas. I'm out on Texas.
I gotta go the other way. For me, it's Oklahoma. If you're going to talk about the Big 12, I hate Oklahoma. I can't stand those dudes.
No, there's one college football team that you hate, Ryan. We all know that.
Of course, there's one that I will never
root for, and that's the whole point, because there is a circumstance where you would root for Oklahoma.
Sure, yeah. If they're playing this team that I would
Oklahoma,
never,
Michigan,
ever cheer for. I'll never cheer for Michigan.
See, I'm kind of with. See, that's the thing. If I'm good with, I could root for Michigan. I got no problems rooting for Michigan. I did this year against Ohio State because I wanted them to win that game. I did. I wanted them to win it. I can't root for Texas. I've never rooted for Texas. Never will.
You got some nerve admitting that to me.
You know what? The Ohio State people need to take it in the shorts every now and again. It's okay that they do. I have no issues with that whatsoever. They're the ones that hired Herb, and they got to own that. They got to own their Herb stuff. They got some Herb stink on them. They need to own that.
No, we're going to run around with Ryan Day. It's daytime, baby.
Good God.
It's Michigan, though. Michigan's the team for me, right? Like,
so
that's
okay. Michigan. So we got Michigan. We got Ohio State.
Are you Michigan like in everything,
or just football?
It's mostly just football. I don't really care about college basketball enough to care how they do. And I'll tell you this, I don't like watching them win in hockey either. I don't like it. So I cheer against them in hockey generally, but I don't feel strongly enough about college hockey to have an opinion.
That's the correct answer.
I couldn't tell you anything about college hockey in Michigan aside from when Josh Langfeld scored that goal.
Oh, with the thing, with the stick. Goal? Oh, that was sick. Yeah, that was pretty sick.
Well, and he's a Coon Rapids guy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You made a big thing out of that.
All of Michigan's best players come from Minnesota. Weird.
I graduated with his sister, so. Okay, so I guess on the NFL, I had a tough time like debating this one between the Vikings and the Bears. And what it came down to was like I tried to decide like if those two teams were playing each other and like it was an advantage for one team to win over the other, like could I cheer for that team? And even though I think the Bears are a bigger rival, I think I just can't cheer for the Vikings.
Wow.
So the Vikings are on my list. Also, Seattle would be on that list too.
I think after your trip to Lambeau, Ryan, the Packers cannot be on your list of teams that you would not.
I have a list.
For football, who do you got? And Seattle too. Yeah, Seattle sucks, but they're not on my list. But Seattle. Who would it be, Ryan?
I will. I'll never cheer for the New Orleans Saints. In my life, I hate that franchise with everything in me.
It's the Bounty Gate, isn't it?
Yep. I'll never cheer for the Philadelphia Eagles, not because of the NFC Championship game. I actually think their team's kind of cool. I can't stand their fans, and I don't want to be counted among them in any situation. I'll never cheer for the Dallas Cowboys as like an actual fan.
Wow, this is a big list you have. You have 3 teams.
Yeah, and that's it.
The Eagles one is interesting. I actually don't know if I could root for the See, that's the thing. I think there is a circumstance where I could root for the Eagles. Because I think the team that I've never rooted for is the New York Giants. I'm starting to think, like, is there ever been a time when I rooted for the Giants? And I'm like, no, I don't think I ever have. I rooted for Buffalo.
Well, that's also because you're a Pats guy.
Yeah, but you know what? That's before the Pats. I wanted the Bills to beat them in that Super Bowl. They didn't. When I was a wee lad, and I watched that. Scott Norwood misses. Sorry. I didn't root for the Giants then. I never rooted for the Giants in the 90s. 41 Donut. There's enough reasons out there for me to hate the Giants. I just think the Giants are boring. They're uninteresting. They seem to win at times when they shouldn't, and they lose a ton when they probably should win. I don't know. There's just the Giants are a team that I don't even want to say I hate them. I just know that I've never actively rooted for them in any situation. So I'm going to say the Giants, maybe.
Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah, they are pretty wicked in Tecmo Super Bowl. The defense is tough in Tecmo Super Bowl. I'll give you that one. Basketball, I only got one. It's the Lakers. Can't cheer for the Lakers under any circumstances. Can't. No circumstances will I cheer for the LA Lakers. None. I have always rooted against them.
I hate enough basketball.
I'll say this about basketball: there are two players that I won't cheer for, which means
players is
whichever team they're on, I won't cheer for them.
LeBron.
I won't cheer for LeBron James.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough scene.
I won't cheer for Joel Embiid.
Oh, I don't hate Embiid. I don't mind him. I like Embiid. I can't cheer for James Harden. I can't cheer for LeBron James. Russell Westbrook. Well, even Russell Westbrook. Like I can get behind Russell Westbrook because he's played hard and he's been on teams and he's never mailed it in to get traded. Harden has done it 3 times. I can't. But the Lakers for sure I can't. I can't cheer for the Lakers no matter what. So they are a team that I cannot root for ever. And I never will. I hate them. Anybody else hate a team? Anybody else got a team they cannot root for under any circumstances?
I thought about the Lakers thing, but I definitely cheered for him when Rodman was there.
He was there for 6 minutes.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I still cheered for him.
Yeah, you cheered for him for 6 minutes. All right.
What is the circumstance I would cheer for him when my favorite player was on their team?
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
So
there you go.
My last one is the University of St. Thomas.
That's true. And you have said this many times.
And this is the tough thing for me. Like I've said it to you guys. I don't know if I've said it out or not, but like they recently went to D1.
Yep.
In all their sports, and I would love another D1 sport option in Minnesota besides the Gophers.
Yes.
For some of this stuff.
Yes. 100%.
But St. Thomas is the one team I just can't do it, right? I mean, they're a rival. They're our rival, right? I went to St. John's, so that's the Michigan and Ohio State thing, right, Ryan? Like, even if Michigan and Ohio State split up and they never played again, you still would never cheer for Michigan,
right?
And that's the same thing. Like so I would love to go and cheer for another small D1 basketball. I love. That's one of the cool things I think about college basketball is those small conferences.
Yep.
Right. You got one shot to get in. Like, cool. That would have been a lot of fun, but not them. Not them in their ugly purple uniforms and just gross.
I have some hockey teams that I'll never cheer for.
Probably one of them a team that you used to be cheering for.
It's true. I'll never cheer for the Chicago Blackhawks again.
You were a diehard Blackhawks fan. The Blackhawks were on your car. You had a sticker.
That's correct. And I had a flag that went in my room, and I had a bunch of figurines and stuff. I love the Chicago Blackhawks. I'll never cheer for them again.
Out on the Blackhawks.
I'll never cheer for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, see, I can't say that. I can't say that, but I love Dallas. I love the North Stars.
I will never, ever cheer for the Montreal Canadiens or Toronto Maple Leafs.
What do you have against Canadians?
The Canadians, to me, are the Notre Dame of hockey. They haven't done shit for years, and they act like they're the best team in hockey year in and year out. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are the Chicago Cubs. I just can't stand them. So
Notre Dame is royalty. The Canadians are an original 6.
Notre Dame sucks. Can we be real about Notre Dame sucks?
Notre Dame doesn't suck.
They haven't done anything for years.
They've been to more playoffs than the Ohio State Buckeyes.
They get blown out every time. They're trash. They're a trash team. They're a trash program.
I can't.
They've been trash since the 90s. They're awful.
You just hate organized religion and football. Like, you just don't want those two things to mix.
It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with the fact that their fans won't shut up about how great they were. Jesus. Right? If Green Bay ever gets terrible and their fans are like that, it'll be comparable. But the fact that Green Bay is still good means I have to listen to Green Bay fans.
I mean, you didn't cheer for Manti Te'o after his girlfriend died?
No, I didn't cheer for him after his girlfriend died. Because there was no girlfriend.
Poor Manti Te'o.
Tim's dying here.
See, I like when those traditional powers are good.
Oh, poor Manti Te'o.
I can get behind when Notre Dame's in it, right? Like, I want Miami to be good.
Yes.
And when I say traditional powers, I'm thinking from my childhood. Right. So some of those 80s teams that were powerful, like I think that's good for the sport.
Yes, I agree.
You want Nebraska to be real good again?
Yes. I do. I do.
And here's the deal though too. It's part of so Boise State, right, is not good for college football. And it's just like the college basketball tournament that's going on right now, right? People always talk about like how cool it is to see the upsets, right? Like St. Pete's, right? The Peacocks.
It's cool. Love St. Peter's.
15 seeds, right? It's cool. But you know what happens when it comes to the Sweet 16? Everybody talks about how much they love the upsets. No one watches those games. Historically, the ratings of those games are terrible compared to everything else because people want traditional powers in those games.
Yeah, the UCLA.
They want to see
UCLA or North Carolina is going to be huge.
Right. They want Duke and UCLA and North Carolina. Right. They don't want to see St. Pete's and Old Dominion. And like, it's a cool story for a weekend, but after that weekend, it's not cool anymore. Kind of same thing with college football. Like, I don't want to see UCF. I don't want to see Boise State. Like, sorry, Cincinnati, snooze fest.
Well, it was this year. This is a good one, guys. I enjoyed this topic. It's good to see that we're starting to get the hatred. We're starting to figure out where everybody's battle lines truly are here. I didn't know Ryan had such hatred for the Canadians, for Canada in general. Just you have a huge problem with
hockey teams.
You know, I think it's when are you going to tell the Canadians to just close the border and stay up there and not come in here? When are you going to tell that to Justin Trudeau?
What? I won't.
Oh, okay.
I don't have his number anymore. He blocked me.
He blocked a lot of people. Don't feel bad about that. Anyway, that's to be continued on these battle lines. I didn't know that they were quite as passionate as they were, especially on Ryan's situation when it came to hockey. Ryan, I'm so glad you came on for the pod for a few minutes. Thanks for working us in, man. I appreciate you.
Good to be here.
That was nice.
Just a busy night. It's the nephew's christening was today. So
christening?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you were a busy man then. And the old man had a birthday, too?
I didn't go to the church because I would burst into flames. But
yeah, they didn't let you in there. Not with your hair and beard. They would never allow you in a place like that. Right. They would probably throw holy water at you. They'd be dousing you with it. They'd throw a bucket of holy water at you.
It reminds me of the episode of The Office when CC gets it, right? And doesn't Toby walk like up to the door like 8 times but never actually goes in?
Yeah.
Getting the courage and gets up there. Not yet.
Right. Yeah.
Ryan's just poking his head around the door like one of those, like Fred, Vilma, and Daphne in a Scooby-Doo episode, just kind of peeking his head around the edge. That would be kind of what was happening. You didn't have to cook for that though or anything, did you, Ryan?
I didn't. Thank the Lord. Let me just say, all right. I'm very fond of my nephew. I love my nephew a lot. I'm happy when I see him.
Here comes the butt. Yeah.
My sister-in-law sends me more pictures of this kid than I think I care to see for the next 20 years.
You will do the same thing when young Tim is born. You will take 10,000 photos.
We'll take pictures. Make no mistake. There will be pictures. But what we're not going to do is post every single one of those pictures online or, be super haughty about the pictures that get posted online and then send 1,000 of them to the family group chat where Ryan has to open his phone every time you send a picture of the damn kid. It's like those spam texts, man. I swear I'm getting one every hour.
Got to block yourself.
That kid right now, that kid could be the star of a show called Kids I Don't Care About. Like I love the kid.
Yeah, I love him. I just don't care about him.
I just don't want to. I don't want to think about him every hour.
I think that's fair. That's very fair. This is the problem with this culture right now: is every parent thinks their kid's the greatest kid ever, and they take a million pictures of them. Poor kids, their whole lives have been online. Their whole lives are online.
I think the people in this podcast are uniquely qualified to tell you that your kid's not always special.
Your kids are a dime a dozen. I'm going to be real honest. Like every great kid, I'm going to tell you, even the brightest kid I coach, the brightest kid I coach is a dime a dozen. There's another one just like him. I'll have another one just like him in a couple years, I promise you. Dime a dozen.
And I think, we will find them. They will be there.
Zach will say this too. He's not going to say this publicly about his team, but he'll find a catcher. He's not worried about it. He'll get another catcher. He'll get another shortstop. They'll come around. He'll see him. We'll get him. Ryan will get another linebacker.
The moral of the story is just don't send me 1,000 pictures a day. I just don't care.
Noted.
I've never been one with a ton of pictures. Caitlin is good at it with the two younger ones. We've gotten good at it, Brooke and Carter's mom is good at it. I'm just not the guy with the camera ever, or thinking about pulling out your phone for that purpose, I guess.
You got to get more selfies in, Zach. Got to get more selfies. Got to get them in there.
Get it on my Insta face or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, guys, I enjoyed our episode of Podpourri. This was so fun to catch up again, and nice to see all of you. I know we got a movie pod coming up very soon. Ryan and Lauren have to watch that movie, and I think Ryan's going to like it. If Ryan hasn't seen it before, Ryan's going to like it, I think. It speaks up Ryan. It's right up Ryan's alley. I think it's right up Ryan's alley. I think he's going to like it a lot. And then we're going to have that movie pod this week, so we're going to stay tuned to that. I think it's going to be a great movie pod. Got obviously a lot of stuff coming around. We got the Masters coming up, so Ty's coming in to talk golf soon. Lots of good things on the horizon. More baseball stuff with Zach when the baseball season rolls around. It's going to be a lot of fun coming up. Zach's laughing. What do you got, Zach? Oh, it's on your phone? Okay, I got to take this. All right, hang on.
I just sent Ryan a couple pictures of my kids.
Oh, and then Ryan left the chat. That's how quickly it goes, everybody. So we want to thank you for listening to the pod this week. I do appreciate you. Again, find us anywhere and rate us 5 stars, subscribe, share it out. Please do all of that for us. Until next time, for Zach, for Ryan, this is Tim saying keep your head up, and we'll see you.